Welcome back to First Light, the podcast where we uncover stories of transformation, leadership, and inspiration. I'm your host, Chris Keller, and today we have a remarkable guest who has dedicated his career to defending justice. Joining us today is Craig Grueling, founder of the Grueling Law Group. He's a board-certified criminal defense attorney and one of the few lawyers in the country to hold the prestigious forensic lawyer scientist designation. From his experience as a prosecutor to becoming a recognized secret lawyer and author, Craig's career is a testament to relentless pursuit of excellence. Welcome to the show, Craig. Craig, I want to thank you for joining me today on First Light. And for the listeners who may not know you, can you take us back to kind of the beginning of what inspired you to pursue a career in law? And I know you were a prosecutor, so talk about your experiences as a prosecutor and how that shaped you as an attorney.
Yeah, my first job out of law school actually was an in-house counsel position in the semiconductor industry. And that quickly went away when the semiconductor industry went to the trash back in the early 2000s. So then I scrambled and became a prosecutor for about 4 years. And decided that, really the original thing about being a prosecutor for me was I just didn't feel like I was helping people. I was just putting a bunch of people in prison for a very long time. And it just didn't feel fulfilling to me. So when I came to this side, the criminal defense side, it really was rewarding because I was actually getting to help people get their lives back on track. And that's really that's why I've stayed with it for so long. I've been doing criminal defense work now for 21 years.
Well, take us back to the beginning. How did you, what kind of inspired you to be a lawyer? I mean, it's semiconductor law, but tell us why law school, why be an attorney?
Well, I was a mechanical engineering major in college, and I got a PhD offer to go to Yale to study sound waves for submarines, and I said, man, that just not fit my personality. And there's no way I was going to pick up women saying at the bar saying I study wavelengths and vibrations on submarines. So I was like, really quickly, I figured I need to switch professions. And what does everybody do when they don't know what they want to do? They go to law school, right?
Well, my son Henry, who's 9, going to be or 8, going to turn 9 very soon. He wants to be an engineer. He'd love to talk to you because he's all into Crunch Labs and Mark Rover and all things engineering right now. But, and now I know you had the Grueling Law Group and you have your own firm. So talk about the journey, how that journey evolved into you starting your own firm and where that kind of entrepreneurial spirit came.
Well, I started out as a partner in the biggest firm in our town. Our town is about 400,000 people, probably, as a college town. And then the senior partner said he was going to retire, and I thought it was time for me to go out and start my own practice and my own firm. Didn't really know what I was getting into at the time. I spent about 9 years trying to figure out my path, and really was not. I was successful, but not as successful as I wanted to be, and had the freedom that I wanted to have. Working 80-hour weeks, things like that. It was a grind. And then we both met each other at CRISP, and that's kind of where my life changed. Was in 2019 when I went to the CRISP Summit. So yeah, my entrepreneurial path was misguided for a very long time. I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. I didn't know how to run a business because they don't teach that in law school.
Yeah, well, not much different than most people I think that start a business, unless they came from that background. But many of us attorneys did not. And my path is similar. I had my own firm for 5 years before I got into business coaching and really started making some changes. And same thing, as we always talk about, we're everything. We're answering the phones. We're the director of HR. We're the director of operations. We're the director of finance. We're doing it all. Talk about the influence of business coaching to your life and really kind of what transformed you through business coaching.
I think the first thing I learned right off the bat was that it's not the best lawyer in your region or area gets all the cases. It's the best known lawyer, and if you're the best lawyer, you want to be found because you want to give that great service to everybody. But the only way to get to be found is to put your name out there. And I always thought marketing was a negative thing. I remember back in 2011, I said I'd never have a billboard. Now I've got 3. So yeah, I think that's the first lesson I learned was marketing. The second lesson I learned was you got to delegate things to other people because there's actually people that can do it better than you. So once I realized that there were other people I could hire that could do things better than me, and kind of pierce my ego a little bit, the business became more successful and went more on a exponential growth rate than a linear growth rate.
Yeah, and talk about the growth from your firm from when you first started. How many people were there in 2010 until now, 2025? So you've got 15 years of doing this. Where your firm is at now?
So 2010 was just me and the secretary I stole from the other firm, and that was it. So I was doing payroll, I was doing QuickBooks, I was doing everything. Now we have 14 employees and then me. What's funny though is 2019, I'm not afraid to put these numbers out there, but in 2019 I was bringing in about $740,000 in revenue and I had 3 lawyers, so me and 2 other lawyers in the firm. Today we still have, and because we've had to get rid of a couple lawyers, we still have, and we lost a lawyer recently. We still only have 3 lawyers, but now our revenue is $3 million. So what I attribute that to is better marketing, better training, better systems, and we're able to handle basically 4 times the caseload that we did before, and actually charge more money for the cases because we get better service.
Yeah. So talk about what did you change internally with your operation systems, processes to allow you to really be able to serve a lot more clients? And I know kind of there you are in a college town. So kind of talk about how you're able to now help more people.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the cases we handle, we handle high level drug cases, federal cases, intoxication, manslaughters, but most of them are DWIs, or what you may call in Florida DUIs. Most of those cases are very repeatable. So what we did is we implemented systems that when I got hired on a case, I didn't really need to think about it until it was time to maybe argue motions or get ready for trial, things like that. And so I think just putting repeatable systems into place was the most important part for that, because instead of me spending 20 hours on a case, I was spending 2 or 3 hours on a case where I had other people doing the work that I didn't really need to be doing. That was a little more repeatable.
Yeah. One cool thing, from talking to you and getting to know you that I found awesome is that you authored the Fifth Circuit Criminal Handbook, and, how cool is that? So tell us about kind of what inspired you to kind of create this resource and how it's been received in the community.
Well, it surprised me that I actually got chosen to do the book, because I was 10 people that were interviewing in Texas. I think there may have been a couple people maybe in Louisiana they were interviewing also, because it's a book for Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. And I did the interviews, and I didn't hear back from them for a few months. And then all of a sudden they called me and said, "Hey, you want to write the book?" And I was like, "Okay, great." And then I was like, how do I start? So I started with a table of contents and then moved from there. But that book took me a year to write. Luckily now I just update it with the new case law and everything. But yeah, it was once I finally finished that book, it was definitely a treat. And that was back in 2019 also when I finished it. And so we've had about 6 updates. I just finished the other one the other day.
Well, one story I love you telling me is how, now you'll go to court and somebody will be kind of debating the law with you, and realize that the book that they're looking at was written by you. So talk about kind of some of those experiences.
Yeah, a couple of flexes is you pull your book out, put it on the table so the AUSA can, read it and educate themselves on the law. The other funny thing is one time I had a sentencing memorandum. I cited to the book. So that was kind of fun. The judge got a kick out of that. I said, "I don't think you can cite yourself, can you?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think you can."
I love it. You talked about kind of get your name out there, and I know, from following you on the social media and seeing the things that you're doing, one cool thing I saw, you got the Tesla Cybertruck and had it wrapped in the green law firm. But talk about some of the cool things that you've done with marketing to allow you to get your name out, because again, sometimes the best lawyers don't get the cases. And in this situation, you truly are one of the high profile attorneys there in Texas, having, authored the handbook on criminal law. So talk about the marketing efforts that you've done and what you've seen success with.
Well, our market's different. So we have 2 offices. We have one in College Station and one in Waco, 2 totally different markets. The Waco market, which also includes Killeen, where Fort Cavazos is, which is like one of the biggest Army posts in the country. That's a little different market over there, but where we started our firm was College Station, and we have a 90,000 student campus in Texas A&M, and then we have a couple other campuses here. So we have probably about 110,000 college students here. So we've really geared our marketing towards that. So you can't just do regular old plain marketing with college students. You got to make it fun. You want to be classy but fun. So what we did, we did these pop-up lawyer videos. We've had a whole series of these. One of them actually went viral. I think got 900,000 views on Instagram. But it's basically, there's a guy named Chris that's in the videos. And he's actually my son. He's an actor out in Atlanta. So he plays this guy, this young person that's about to do something that's illegal or about to get in trouble. And then I pop up out of nowhere and give them advice. And those have been a real hit with the college students. They love watching those, and they're funny, but they're also educational and kind of teach you what to do in certain situations to keep out of trouble.
I would imagine having that degree or that background in mechanical engineering, that some of this stuff may be outside of your comfort zone. So talk about kind of step out of your comfort zone, shoot these videos with your son, and kind of stepping foot and being an actor.
Yeah, so I'm an introvert outside of the courtroom. So when I get in the courtroom, you would never know I'm an introvert. I'm very outgoing. I act like I own the courtroom. But so getting in, doing commercials was a little bit more out of my comfort zone. But once you get in there and you start doing it, it's fun. What I didn't realize, just to get a 30-second video commercial, you have to spend all day doing it. And it's such a project. When you see it come out, you're like, man, I acted in that thing all day, and that's all we got was that. So that's one thing that surprised me. But yeah, it's been fun now that we've done about 9 of them. That it's kind of, I look forward to them now, where I used to just dread going to do the projects.
Yeah. This 15-year plus journey and expanding into new markets, talk about some of the biggest challenges that you've faced and how you've been able to overcome those challenges.
I think really it's the firm culture. Sometimes when you're moving so fast and you got the wrong people in the wrong seats, you got the wrong culture fits. And so what I did, I think the biggest change that we've made recently was a couple of years ago. I hired a director of operations, and she came from a products industry, not a service industry. So she had a little different perspective. But what she did basically is, and honestly, I think she's fired everybody in our firm, except for all the lawyers, but she's fired everybody and got a whole new team. And it's honestly the best team that we've ever had. But she used a hiring funnel that really focused on our core values to make sure that you're a fit there. We did all the print tests and the Colby test and things like that. But she really has got a team now that when I walk in the office, I'm just excited to be there because they love working at the Grueling Law Group.
Yeah. Talk about some of your origin stories. I know I got to see, your Chris video at the summit, and it's some powerful messaging there. So talk about kind of that origin story for you.
Yeah, that kind of came from, I guess I was up for Chris Firm of the Year. And so they did an interview at the Chris headquarters. And we kind of fleshed out that emotional thing about my brother that he passed away. I guess it's been now about 13 years. And, they were asking me what motivates me when I get up in the morning, because it could be a grind doing this for 20 something years. And I just said, hey, I think about my brother and how he doesn't get to wake up this morning, and how he was so disadvantaged. And if you don't know the story about him, he was paralyzed at birth. He ended up having some brain damage later on in life. And so he struggled with life, but always, looked for the positive things and always, I felt like he had a good life, even though from the outside look at him, you would feel sorry for him. But he always had that attitude that I'm just going to do the best with what I have. And so that's what kind of motivates me to wake up every morning and get going and treat people with empathy and respect. And that empathy really kind of rubs off onto my clients. They know that I care about them.
How do you think that shaped you, that experience of growing up with your brother like that? How do you think that shaped you as a business leader and as a criminal defense attorney?
I think I treat everybody with respect, no matter what your disabilities are or your race, your gender. Growing up with my brother, he was, if if you knew him, you knew he was a great person inside. And I never really looked at him as a handicapped brother growing up. And so I don't look at other people that way either. He really inspired me to know that you got to look at the person on the inside, not the outside.
What's some of the things that you really think has gave you that standing power in the community there in College Station for now 15 plus years to have a firm that's as successful as continue to grow? What kind of gave you that staying power in College Station?
I think everybody here knows I'm not scared to handle any case. It's from a high profile murder case to an A&M football player. I've had a lot of the athletes cases, and those could be scary because you're going to have to be on the news. You're going to have to really handle the press. I remember when Anais Smith got arrested. He was our star football player. He was the best football player on the team. And we had to do a media blitz to try to reverse the negativity, because every time you look at ESPN, his name was coming across the ticker. Then he got arrested on weapons and drugs charges. They made it sound so bad, but we ended up getting the case dismissed 4 days later. And but just not being scared. Everybody in town knows that I'm going to take on whatever case it is. Whether I just had a January 6th case that got dismissed this week. Those can be unpopular, but I'm not scared of any case. I'll take it on, and people know that I'm not fearful of anything.
I was going to ask you about that. I saw that social media post. So take us through that and what that experience was like on a January 6th case.
That was a lot of fun. It's interesting. You may not agree politically with your client sometimes, but you get to understand them as a person. And this guy, I really felt bad for him. He was trying to find a way out of the Capitol because there were flashbangs going on and smoke bombs and a lot of unruly people. And he ended up where the only way he could really get out of the situation he was in was to walk through the Capitol. And then he walked out the other side. He didn't do anything disruptive or hurt anybody or damage any property. So I felt bad for him. And in the months leading up to his arrest, they would fly helicopters over his house, spotlight his house, and just kind of you see that these guys, they went to the Capitol, and some of them made bad decisions that day. But then you see what happens to their family and their kids, and the fear that the government places on them. It was kind of an interesting thing to go through.
Having handled some of these high profile cases and been involved in high profile cases, what do you look at as kind of the most rewarding moment of your career so far?
As far as a high profile case,
anything. You'd be building your team and the company you built. It could be a case that you've handled. When you look back over the 15 years, what do you look at as kind of like that big rewarding moment, a big defining moment for you?
So if you watch the video that we did at CRISP, and it's online, and there's a girl named Sophie Goodman. She was a 17-year-old girl. She had been accused of sexually assaulting another volleyball player on a high school bus. And what ended up coming out in the facts is that there were 3 other girls that pantsed a girl. I don't know if you know what that is. Back when you were in high school, somebody pull your pants down. And then my client was running the radio in the back of the bus. So like she had the Bluetooth speaker, and they were accusing her of trying to cover up the noises by making the speaker go high. Well, they ended up charging all these girls with a sexual offense against this girl that, could have carried prison, could have carried sex offender registration. And she got offered a deal to reduce to a misdemeanor and with little to no probation. And she looked me in the eyes and she said, "I want to fight this. I want to clear my name. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm innocent." And if anybody's ever done criminal work, when a client tells you they're innocent and you actually believe them, that'll keep you up at night because you worry about that case more than anything. But the case ended up getting dismissed. And this is a case that made national news. And so her name was really tarnished across the news. But then the news outlets wouldn't when the dismissal happened, they didn't report it. So when I told her, I said, "Look, we need to make a video together about your story." And so we made a 3-minute video, and then we chopped it up like, we all do, and put it out there to kind of, because I wanted to change the narrative for her and say, "Hey, no, this is what really happened, and the public needs to know." And I think I'm more proud of that case because I'm more proud of the courage that she had in wanting to fight it as a 17-year-old girl. And now, that's could have kept her from going to college. Now she's she's a junior at University of Texas. She's doing very well, and I think she wants to be a lawyer. That's what she told me the other day, because we still keep in contact. And I think I'm just more proud of her courage.
Well, let's talk about that relationship you build with clients, because especially in criminal defense, but personal injury as well, a lot of times you're dealing with people in the worst part of their life, especially in criminal defense, when they're facing criminal prosecution, they're facing jail, a lot of uncertainty in their life. So let's talk about how you kind of connect with those people. And it sounds like, with your clients, you keep this amazing relationship, but that can take a toll on you. So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think when you're representing the person, you have a lot of empathy towards them, you get to know them. I feel like that connection is there, but when it's finished, it's just this relief that you did something great for them, and they're thankful for you, you're thankful for them. And I always like to keep the relationship going. Now, obviously there's some of my clients that, I prefer not to keep a continued relationship with. But there's some of them that just really touch your heart, and you want to stay in touch with them because you want to see their life. You want to see what happened because of the work you did. I mean, a lot of times clients will call me 5-10 years later and say, I never would be where I'm at if it wasn't for you. And it's not just because of the case. It's because we have this motto at our firm that winning where it matters in the courtroom and in life. So when I'm representing you, you always know that I'm concerned about your life and how things are going to, how your next 10 years are going to be. And I don't want to do anything that's going to interfere with that or harm that. And so they always say, Craig, you told me when I was arrested and I was at the bottom of my life, I was at the darkest area of my life, that I'm going to look back one day and say, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I thought you were crazy. And now here we are 10 years later, and I realized that was the best thing that happened to me because, whether it was a drug addiction, alcohol addiction, or just making bad choices in life, hanging around with a lot of people, sometimes getting arrested can give you that motivation to improve your life and make your life better. So, and I see it many times.
So dealing with this kind of, I know, my partner here does criminal defense, and, I started my career off as a prosecutor, worked for the state for 4 years. And, I saw a lot of this firsthand, whether on the prosecution side or the defense side, these cases can really take a toll on you. And so how do you keep a healthy mind, a healthy body? What's your approach to kind of keep yourself healthy and handle these types of cases?
Yeah, I used to get stressed out and eat too much and stay up late and things like that. I'm on more of a regimen now where I go to bed at a certain time, wake up at a certain time, try to get my workouts out in the morning. That'll help with a lot of the stress of these cases, because sometimes these cases are, the hard thing about being a criminal defense attorney is sometimes you have no control over the facts. And so that can be frustrating especially if you're a control freak or you like to be in control of everything. It can be frustrating. But at the end of the day, you got to realize that, look, I'm here to protect the Constitution. I'm here to make sure that the government doesn't violate my clients' rights, because I'm a huge believer in the Constitution. There's sometimes I challenge things on constitutional issues that I don't even personally believe in, but it's because the Constitution says it is the reason why I push it so hard. That can be like Second Amendment type stuff. I mean, I'm pushing hard right now on felons to be able to have firearms because I believe that the Constitution allows for that, certain felons. So, like, one of the things I always say is, well, why can't Martha Stewart have a firearm? I was interviewed by a news affiliate the other day about that. I was like, this just doesn't make sense. This is a woman that just lied to an FBI agent, and that's all she did, and she can't have a firearm. Or there's a big case in the courts right now in the Third Circuit that's talking about a guy that lied about his food stamps. Now he can't have a firearm. So it just, those things don't make mistakes or don't make sense to me. But you got to focus on the fact when you're doing the job that you are there to protect the Constitution. Because if you don't have criminal defense attorneys like we do in this country, you're going to just be like Russia, and you just get run over, and you go to prison, and you don't get a fair trial, and you don't get due process.
So one thing, looking at law students out there who maybe considering a career as a state attorney or a prosecutor or assistant state attorney, we call them state attorneys here. They're different in every venue, but prosecutors, or want to go into public to be a public defender, and maybe they want to go into private practice and be a criminal defense attorney. What kind of advice do you give those people who are looking at a career that involves the criminal justice system?
Yeah, I think going to be a prosecutor or a public defender right out of law school is a great thing. One of the things it does is give you confidence in the courtroom because you get to try a lot of cases. When I think my first year as a prosecutor, I tried 28 jury trials, and so you're getting in there, you're getting a cadence. You start to realize, this is how I got to act in a courtroom. You get more handle on the evidentiary issues, how to object, things like that, how to get things into evidence. So I think that's a great thing, and I don't think you have to go prosecutor or public defender. You can do either one. Not one's better than the other because you're going to get great training. I think if you're going to come right out of law school and go become a criminal defense attorney, you need to get with a really good firm that focuses on training young people, because coming out of law school and trying to practice criminal defense is a very difficult endeavor if you don't have anybody to help you along the way. So I would suggest those. If you're going to take that avenue where you don't want to be a prosecutor, because some people in the criminal defense profession say, if once a prosecutor, always a prosecutor. So you can get that bad. Some people believe in that. I don't believe in that. I think that being a prosecutor helped me become a better defense attorney. So,
You kind of talked about there, if you go out, and you start on your own, you really hold, people's fate in your hands sometimes. Sometimes the cases that you're handling can be life in prison. They spend the rest of their life behind bars. Maybe sometimes it's not so severe, but either way, it could be that defining moment that does impact the rest of their life. Sometimes that one bad decision can have such a lasting impact. And so, how do you manage that? How do you navigate that? And what advice do you give to other attorneys who are trying to navigate that?
I think don't be afraid to ask for help. I've seen lawyers in courts struggling, and I always go over there and try to offer my assistance. Just because I'm, they're not asking for help. They need to ask for help. I'm always available. If you call me and you want to ask me a question, I'll always take the time out to answer a question. I don't keep trade secrets or anything like that. So one of the things that I'm really good at is attacking blood test and PWI cases. Won a lot of those cases. I won 0.23 blood test cases several times. I don't hide the ball on that. I'll tell any lawyer in town, you bring your data over to me, let me look at it. I'll tell you what's wrong. And I'll do it for free. Because I'm not interested in competing with other lawyers. I'm interested in making our community the best community of lawyers in Texas. So, and really my passion comes from, I want everybody to have a good and solid legal defense. And so anything I can do to help for that, I'm there every step of the way. So just call me. I'm willing to help. I think the legacy I want to leave is that I try to help as many people get the best representation possible. I think we got a goal of 4,000 people in the next 5 years that we want to help across Texas. So we're expanding to different cities to get to that number. But we feel like we give we're one of the best firms in Texas, and we feel like we give the best representation to our clients. And so we want to be able to give that to everybody. And what's good about that is, you have your expensive lawyers in the firm, and then we have our lawyers that are more reasonable and cost effective, but they're all going to give great representation no matter what. And you got the full resources of our firm behind you if you hire us.
Awesome. Craig, I want to thank you for joining me on First Light today to share your journey. I know that seeing the video about your brother and then also the young lady that you mentioned really just had a huge impact on me. And I wanted to share that story with our listeners. So again, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story.
I appreciate you, man. Good to see you.
Craig, thank you for sharing your incredible insights and journey with us today. To our listeners, I hope Craig's story has sparked new ideas and perspectives for you. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this conversation. Until next time, keep shining your light.